And all of our tech companies are being infiltrated by Israeli military intelligence. So check this out.
China and Israel just moved into the country. And now we see, to fix this, we now have to partner with the people that raped us, perhaps literally raped our children, completely compromised our intelligence community, and now we have to do a deal with them. And by the way, our president's going to walk away with $8 billion US. I mean, the orange clown must go, Hubbard must go, Jared Kushner must go, they all must go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, to say this is an extremely important video would be an understatement. It will be boring. There will be no cannibals. There will be no murdering and slaughtering and gutting of young children. I'm sorry.
The admiral would go to these parties at this big mansion outside of Marseille. What they did was they invited the wild girls, the secretaries, but Al Gray, this guy, would guard the parties. Now, how does that make a young guy feel who's got a child? He's guarding an orgy with Israelis. There were Israelis at these parties. Intelligence people. Intelligence? There's not intelligence there. There's perversion.
For you, however, that is all obviously related. How did Israel take over America completely? Well, Epstein is just 1/100th of the network that have been running this worldwide. What was Bannon doing in India with Epstein?
Right. I've always had Israel's back. I adamantly oppose Greater Israel Project, and that's exactly why we're in this situation today. And nobody on the Israel side can defend it. The Greater Israel Project, this imperial Israel, is what's got us here to have a two-state solution, and that is this Gaza redevelopment with Qatar writing the check and the Turks providing security. It's a super high priority for President Trump because he thinks that manifests peace. Where do we stand with this? Bibi signed it today reluctantly. I mean, he's on the board of peace because he wants to be in the room, but he hates the whole concept of the board of peace, and he hates the whole concept of what's happening in Gaza. Your thoughts?
No, I mean, it's a high-stakes meeting. I think Netanyahu will do whatever it takes to remain in the room and not on the menu. And I think humoring the president's goal of redeveloping Gaza, which I think remains basically a moonshot that's not going to happen during Trump's remaining time in office, is a small price to pay for Netanyahu. What he really wants, as you allude to, is the Greater Israel Project. He wants U.S. force arms and U.S. grandeur and power to be used to flatten all of Israel's foes in the Muslim world on behalf of Israel. I mean, it's a fairly ambitious, frankly, and garish request, but Netanyahu has gotten this far, and it has been the linchpin of his political career ever since he rose to the prime ministership for the first time in the 90s. He's had tight alliances with U.S. neoconservatives and Republican hawks, and he's trying to reach the Holy Grail right now, which is regime change in Iran.
What was Bannon doing? Why was Bannon around Jeffrey Epstein? Why? Bannon was around Jeffrey Epstein because Bannon's job was not to rehabilitate him. Bannon was to milk him, control him, and handle him. Bannon was working for the Office of Naval Intelligence, the oldest of the U.S. intelligence agencies. The Office of Naval Intelligence, who are tied like this to the British Admiralty. You are now going to go, well, that's City of London. That would be fair. But no, they're all separate. It's the City of London snake.
Good evening. The headlines at 6 o'clock. Mrs. Thatcher has declined for the moment to clear the name of Lord Rothschild, to say that he was not a Soviet spy, the so-called fifth man.
That has penetrated MI6, penetrated MI5, penetrated the Mossad, penetrated French intelligence, penetrated German intelligence, penetrated US intelligence. It's not the CIA. I just watched Whitney Webb. What is she talking about? It's the bankers and the CIA. It's all bankers and the CIA. I mean, I just sat there and said, are you kidding me?
The guy in the White House is always a front for the bankers, and it's pretty much always been that way. The CIA itself, it's the bankers. If you look at the early CIA, it was all bankers. It was Wall Street lawyers out of Sullivan and Cromwell. You know, that's who's been doing this the whole time. And now they're enslaving the planet with spy satellites. And they're the spies, you know? So, like, I don't know. get so tired of the election rhetoric sometimes. People just really need to understand that this is the banker.
Are you kidding me? I've worked out where Whitney gets all her info from. She just watches A More Perfect Union, which is a huge Soros-funded left-wing channel. I listen to Whitney Webb. I watch More Perfect Union. It's the same. They are literally mimicking the same things. Whitney Webb is now just saying it's all bankers. Wow. Everybody, Whitney worked it out. Whitney worked it out. WWIO. Whitney worked it out. It's just so absurd. But anyway, no mention City of London and all the other aspects that have to be talked about.
At the G20 summit in 2023, India, the US, the European Union, and a number of Gulf monarchies revealed the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, commonly abbreviated as IMEC, a proposed new trade corridor linking India and the Middle East to Europe, framed at the time as an alternative to the risky Red Sea shipping routes that have been disrupted by the Houthis. But as well as offering a more secure trade route across the Arabian Peninsula, IMEC, which runs from India and the UAE through Saudi Arabia, Jordan and Israel to Greece, Italy and France, was also framed, at least by its Western members, as a potential rival to China's Belt and Road Initiative.
So that's what was Bannon doing there? They were organizing. See, this is the problem. I'm giving you the root cause. We've just seen Alex Jones go on Patrick Bet-David. And Alex Jones is on there saying, oh, half these women, they work voluntarily. And I mean, he's just a pig. I mean, he's just disgusting. How the Trump administration is really out of touch on this issue is astounding. But we'll see what happens.
The women that they've, settled with and that are the victims and all this stuff, almost all of them are the women that ended up working for Epstein for years and years and years.
Recruiting other young girls to come to him for $200, $100.
Absolutely.
Get paid.
Absolutely. Some were bought at age, this is public, at age 9 or 10 from their Eastern European parents, flown here and then worked for him for decades. And so exactly, they're the ones that manage and run the women. And so when you see these women up there, you have to understand that in many cases, you're looking at people that for 5 years, 10 years worked for Epstein, and we're part of it. But see, that's how they stop it. Those women then tell a limited story about what was going on. But then you read the names of some of the women, they're in all the emails preparing the beef jerky. A couple of women in there were actually girlfriends after they were adults and worked for Epstein for over a decade, and it turns out worked for George Soros. So see, I'm not trying to demonize the women. I'm just saying it's what you're seeing is not what you're actually getting here.
But to think that, well, the stock market's up, and if we expose all these people, the stock market will crash. No. All those people paid Donald Trump $8 billion in cash to not talk about them, to work with the Trump administration, the Office of Naval Intelligence and other intelligence agencies, to fix a problem. They said, if you won't indict us, not only will we pay you billions of dollars in bribes to not talk 9/11, to not talk Epstein, what we will do is we will help you take over the world.
Who will look after me and enjoy my luxury?
That's why they're hanging with kabbad. That's why Bannon is going and taking, that's part of the process. In 2018, remember Council on Foreign Relations girl, Vicky Ward, went after Epstein first in 2003 and she was warned off. Then she went after him again in 2015. She was warned off. Then she teamed up with Bannon to go after the Kushners.
It's the British East India Company model of how you go in and capture the elites, and with a handful of guys you run the deal. We are a tributary state to China.
One of the strong themes in my book, is Bibi Netanyahu. Very, very old family friend of the Kushners. Bibi Netanyahu is like the grand chess master. He may as well really have been our Secretary of State. And I think you can't underestimate the influence of Bibi here. It was Bibi's idea to really have the US soften its attitude towards Russia because he thought it would be helpful in batting down Iran in Syria. This is not a view that is shared by many of our, any of our mates, security analysts who deal in the region.
Well, one of the things that's been pointed out by critics of the book is that Steve Bannon seems to be one of the principal sources, though you never say explicitly whether you interviewed him or not. And obviously, quite apart from the other problems with Steve Bannon.
To my last breath, we're going to hunt you down and expose it all, and we'll start with Kissinger.
he is not a disinterested party. I mean, he has and has always been critical of Jared and Ivanka Trump.
Totally.
So did you interview him?
And now Kushner's in the poo, allegedly with Tulsi Gabbard running cover to say, and they're saying that Jared Kushner needs to be tried for treason. Really?
Yeah, I want to give one detail here. Towards the end of the Wall Street Journal story, they say a second allegation in the complaint alleges that the NSA's General Counsel's office failed to report a potential crime to the Justice Department that was raised by the content of the intercepted conversation and did so for political purposes. So pretty serious. There's a crime involved here, and apparently it's about Jared Kushner. And so Tulsi Gabbard looks like, we say alleged, sure alleged, but it looks like she most certainly hit it. I mean, why didn't she? Did. Yeah, there's pretty much no question she hit it. What did Jared Kushner do? There's plenty of questions about that. We don't know. It's redacted. But I do have a educated guess on it. So let me know when you want me to tell you that, Anna.
No, go ahead. I'm ready to hear it.
Yeah. So look, guys, there's reporting earlier in the first term of the Trump administration that Jared Kushner worked with Mohammed bin Salman, and that if you remember, his security clearance was taken away. And then that became a bit of a scandal. And why is he, our envoy to the Middle East and negotiating with Arab states and Israel and all this stuff when he didn't even have security clearance? And at the time, the story was, and this is allegations, we don't know for sure, that Kushner had told Mohammed bin Salman are allies in the Saudi government and the Saudi royalty, and that Salman then rounded them up and basically used that as leverage against them. But some were killed, some were kidnapped, and then returned once Salman had taken enough power and money from them. So if he sold out our spies or our intelligence or our contacts in Saudi Arabia, that would be a massive, massive crime and led to the deaths of people. If that Salman did kill people based on information he did get about those people. Now we don't know that Jared Kushner gave it to him for sure, and if it's that level of crime, Anna, that's why Gabbard would hide it, because that's borderline treason. And of course, if you remember, right after the first term was over, Jared Kushner got $2 billion from the Saudis into his investment vehicle.
This is a big deal right now. If you keep the pressure up, you've got to get Chabad Lubavitch out of the White House. Fancy that. Imagine having to say that. You have to get Charles Manson out of the White House. You have to get Ted Bundy out of the White House. Imagine having to say that. I would never have believed it, but here we are. Alex Jones ain't gonna tell you. I ain't heard it rolling off Whitney Webb's mouth too often, and I ain't heard it rolling off the tongues of Cenk and Anna at the Young Turks. Have you? We might want to talk about Chabad Lubavitch, the intelligence agency posing as a religious extremist nutcase cult involved in drug trafficking, sex slave trafficking. Oh, Epstein, sex slave trafficking, Chabad, oh, gee. So here we are, that's what he was doing. So why the India stuff? Because that's IMEC, the India, Middle East, European corridor to replace the Belt and Road. And that is what Bannon was doing, hanging with Epstein. It's got nothing to do with Bannon helping out with raping little children or covering for Epstein. They were taking over the network. And the network said, we will help you take over the world with our networks, with Chabad, with our Jewish power, Jewish penetration of all the countries, if you don't cut our throats. That's what's going on. Donald Trump then personally enriched himself, being handled by his closet homosexual stamp collecting son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his cocaine addicted group orgy daughter, Ivanka, literally, and they were paying the billions into his meme coins accounts. So he's been paid off. That's why he's actually completely compromised himself, because he did a deal with the devil, because he is a greedy little hoe. That's why.
Who will look after me and enjoy my luxury?
That's why. I hope that has basically explained the whole Epstein thing for you as it currently stands. The network has been taken over by the Heritage Foundation nationalist arm of MAGA, who are in league with the globalist Jared Kushner, Gary Cohen, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs arm, all right, to take over the network. And good old Steve Bannon's been playing the hammer in City of London, hammer in Wall Street, hammer in whatever, to get them under control, to take over the network. Now, you can agree with that or disagree with that. I'll leave that up to you.
In January 2017, we had two, I think, seminal speeches. Okay, we had the Davos speech of President Xi. Okay, which was the high hosanna to globalism. Yeah. And it was, to me, repulsive. Repulsive. How the mainstream media and Davos, man, just sat there and bought it all and said, what a great leader, what a great humanitarian, what he's going to lead us through about climate, on the world's environment, what he's going to do, for globalization or for the economy. And then you saw Donald Trump's, inaugural address was, I think, 3 days later, in which he said, hey, we're getting back to the nation state. And America is going to start to focus on their sovereignty, and other nations should start thinking about their sovereignty. But this globalization, what's coming out of Davos, is stripped our sovereignty from us, and we're going to reassert that. And 2 years later, which happened this week, was Mike Pence's speech about the new strategy of the United States, which has really been going along for quite a while, which is now kind of engaging China, right? An engagement with China, but not like Henry Kissinger, and not like the Thucydides trap crowd. And I know you did this seminal interview with Graham Allison, but not what those guys want, which is to kind of us stumble along and play along with China. This is a direct confrontation with China to say, we're not going to take it anymore. You've been in economic war with us, and we're going to reassert us. Your question about how they ingratiate themselves, the guys who wrote the biggest checks. Right. They wrote checks to the universities. They wrote checks. They've essentially bought off the City of London and Wall Street and the corporations. I say this in a sense of kind of anger. The great investment banks in London and in New York became the investor relations department for this regime. Okay?
In the pursuit of profits.
In the total pursuit of profits. Yes. And corporations became their lobby.
But that's power politics. Big difference between being a YouTube douchebag, commenting on how the world is full of injustice, and then fixing a very deep problem. However, I can't see how you can fix a problem where they're now lobbying to integrate Israel completely into the defense.
I've dug through so much of this stuff just tonight that it's actually kind of hard to know exactly where to start.
Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? That's a problem. It's so big, you get lost. You get completely lost.
Well, cybersecurity, apparently the United States has had a lot of deals and MAGA deals and dollars with Israel. And a lot of these companies, once you start tracing them back and you find out who the investors are and who these companies are, you are always going to find an Israeli company embedded with what is known as, or what they profile as, American companies, and none of them are American companies.
Right, please understand this. This is exactly what I found. This is why I was going, it's everything. And Diane is actually getting the material. This is going to take a while, but when we do this brief and when we finish the video, trust me, it's going to be explosive to say the least.
This is the House Armed Services Committee. This was for the year 2026. The NDAA provides unprecedented levels of support for the security of Israel. So this is the new NDAA, which is literally, and we'll read all the articles for you, and the new legislation. It's going to be passed in March. That's why you have to lobby now. You can't run away to Odyssey. You can't run away to a Bitcoin conference. You can't talk about how angry it all is. If these people were real, they would be telling you, of course, to what? They would be telling you to enter into politics.
And all of our tech companies are being infiltrated by Israeli military intelligence. So check this out.
They never tell you that because that is the cardinal rule. They say to these people, they're all handled, every last one of them, if you push independent political action, we will withdraw your money and you will have no money. And everyone went, okay. You can sit there, say how angry you are, cry, grieve, sell coffee mugs and t-shirts and swag and merch, but you must not encourage independent political action. So this is the new FY26 NDAA, strengthens joint military programs. And we'll get into this. Fully funds the US commitment to defend Israel through joint US-Israel cooperative missile defense programs, including Iron Dome, Arrow, and David Sling. Now, remember when Trump kept saying at Davos that, hey, this is US technology, baby. It's not your technology, it's ours. He was emphatic, and that's all true. It's all American technology. Watch.
What we did for Israel was amazing. But that's nothing compared to what we have planned for the United States, Canada, and the rest of the world. We are going to build a dome like no other. We did it for Israel. And by the way, I told Bibi, stop taking credit for the dome. That's our technology. That's our stuff.
Okay. They hate each other, okay? They're not loving each other. They are in mutually assured destruction. Trump's tied in because he's taken billions in bribe money. And they just thought, oh, we can get away with this. Oh, no, you're not. And if they think they're getting away with Epstein, Pluto was in Aquarius. Okay, directs the establishment of a US-Israel Defense Industrial Base Working Group. Now, this is the important thing. The Defense Industrial Base Working Group to study opportunities for greater collaboration on defense production and potential integration of Israel into the US National Technology and Industrial Base, the NTIB. I repeat, to study opportunities. Now, they're trying to make this legislation in March this year. Okay, a month away. For greater collaboration on defense production and potential integration of Israel into the US National Technology and Industrial Base. What that means is Israel will be declared a local supplier as if it's literally an American company based in the United States. And they're aiming to do that with Japan and Australia and the UK, which is funny because the UK just ran over to China, didn't they? So did you notice Mark Carney and Keir Starmer come out swinging? No, we're going with China. And then Epstein, all this stuff, Epstein comes out. That's how it's being used. To force a deal. To let China back in. It establishes and authorizes $35 million for a new emerging technology cooperative program with certain partners, including Israel, to jumpstart development and testing of cutting-edge technologies, including AI, quantum. This is my United Nations refugee document. It's very easy to navigate. Listen to this. You can click here and go down to Appendix 8 High Court Synopsis, which was written in Albany Regional Prison in 2012 with a badly broken, untreated arm. You click there. We go past page 614 where we talk about Zuckerberg, all Jews, Larry Page, Sergey Brin, quantum computing, Ray Kurzweil. This was all typed in a maximum security prison in 2012, 15 years ago. And this is what I wrote. Imagine a quantum computer developed by Jews in the United States, perhaps jointly with Israel, linked in with the world's databases and the software that enables it to literally predict the future and track and trace every human on the planet. And imagine it is in the hands of people who think themselves God's chosen people with a history of religious and racial supremacism and a religion that promises they will rule the earth from Jerusalem. Don't arrest and charge the messenger. I'm just telling you what they say, think and plan. Look at what they can do with 4.4 million tweets and a few lines of information. That was an Albany maximum regional prison on the south coast of Western Australia in the year 2012. Cybersecurity, robotics and automation adds $80 million to authorised funding for Department of War to continue the US-Israel anti-tunnel operation, adds $70 million to authorise funding to expand cooperation with Israel on countering unmanned drones, blah, blah, blah. Encourages Department of War to expand joint training exercise with Israel to strengthen our shared readiness to face regional threats and reinforce deterrence. What regional threats? Combat anti-Semitism. Directs the Department of War to avoid participating in international defence exhibitions and forums that prohibit participation by Israel as part of the boycott divestment. That is just a small taste of what's going on. Israel-US defense establishment forged deeper ties. We will continue to stand together in the face of the Iranian threat. That's why the threat of Iran is so important. They need to keep Iran there. They don't want to take Iran down. This is March the 1st, back in 2023. The Israeli Defense Ministry and the US Department of Defense this week convened the annual US-Israel Defense Acquisition Advisory Group in the Jewish state. This is all led, and this has been going on since at least 2023. Here is a website, Ally Via, okay? This is very important. They've been running around and talking to Congress people everywhere. And this is part of they're registered as a foreign agents run by Brad Pascal, who ran the 2016-2020 Information Technology Department of the Trump campaign. And he's now working for the Israeli Defense Department, or equivalent thereof, Foreign Office. Policy and updates on the US and Israel alliance. This is Pax Silica with the gay rent boy. Israel, Chabad Lubavitch rent by, because they all have to be gay and they all have to be involved with Chabad Lubavitch. That's apparently the prerequisite. Israel joins Pax Silica. Why a US-led AI and semiconductor alliance matters. This is from December 15, 2025. Israel entry into the Pax Silica initiative marks a clear step into the center of global decision-making on artificial intelligence, semiconductors, and the supply chains that sustain them. Announced in early December following a high-level conference in Washington, the initiative places Israel alongside the United States and a small group of technologically advanced allies shaping the rules of the AI era. The move reflects both Israel's standing in high-tech fields and Washington's interest in building trusted partnerships around sensitive technologies. Trusted partnerships. It ain't a trusted partnership. Israel's already in there. They're trying to legislate it. If they can legislate this, then it's a lot harder for people to go, well, why are you running all that critical infrastructure? This is an espionage operation. They go, no, it's Pax Silica, baby. For Americans, Pax Silica signals how economic security, national security, and technological leadership are now tightly linked. Key takeaways. Israel joined the US-led Pax Silica initiative alongside 8 other leading technology nations. The initiative focuses on AI, semiconductors, critical minerals, energy, and supply chain. And I'm all for a version of this. Remember I said that America has to rule and say who wants in, who wants out. If you want in, you got to mimic our form of government, freedom of information, transparency, and citizen participation in the political process. If you don't mimic our values, how does Israel mimic the values of the United States? I ask you. An ethno-supremacist religious state, lunatics, hate non-Jews, lunatics. And, here we are in the gaslighting. The framework is expected to influence the economic order of the AI era. What Pax Silica is? Pax Silica is a strategic initiative led by the United States to coordinate trusted nations. Okay. You'll see here, the United States, Israel, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, and Australia. Together, these countries host many of the world's most influential technology firms. What do you notice? No European Union. No European countries except the Netherlands. What's in the Netherlands? What's in the Netherlands? ASML. Right next door in Belgium is IMEC. What is the Netherlands? Ports of Rotterdam, Antwerp, Belgium, okay? All run by the old Sephardic Jews, the drugs, the diamonds, the cocaine funds, all right there. But the rest of the EU is dropping out and dropping Microsoft products as fast as they can. For Washington, Pax Silica reflects lessons learned from recent supply chain shocks and rising competition with China. Control over chips, data infrastructure, and AI systems is now viewed as a strategic asset comparable to energy security in earlier decades. And there you are. This is what they're feeding to Congress people. That is being run by this little company, Brad Pascal, on behalf of the Israeli Foreign Office. It's being run by Brad Pascal and his firm Clock Tower X, and he's also been doing all those contracts, pushing how wonderful Israel is with these little $6 to $9 million contracts. And you know what most of the money's for? It's buying views. I keep telling you, Brett Shapiro, it's all fake. All the numbers are absolutely fake. And you'll see him there, Clock Tower, and all the links. There is the Pax Silica Summit in the US State Department website. Pax Silica is a US strategic-led initiative to build a secure, prosperous, and innovation-driven silicon supply chain. Now, what do we need to talk about? What's vital to understand is this one company, and I guess I'll just have to keep saying it to make the point. This is one. There are literally hundreds. I'm going to give you one. And once you see what one controls, this is what we told you Whitney Webb would never tell. We told you in 2019, we bet you Whitney Webb will not mention Rad Group, Radcom, Zohar, and Yahud Zizapel. We said it over and over, and we gave her, she never stole this office, we gave it all to her. She then gave the limited hangout. I'm approached by ASIO, the Australian Securities Investigation Organisation, the Australian CIA, John Wilson, whose brother's in ASIO, who was nearly killed when NASA was assassinated in Egypt all those years ago. He's high up in Japan now in ASIO. And lo and behold, John Wilson saying, you're damaged good, Brendan. John Wilson, who used to go out with the Finger family, a famous communist family. So he's a plant. He's been a long-term plant for ASIO and the British Crown for a long time. He said, you're damaged goods, Brendan. Whitney's going to take over. See, he told me it to my face. I don't need to theorize who Whitney Webb works for. I know who her daddy, Richard Webb IV, is. I know his association with John Kerry. I know that he runs and launders drug money out of Sarasota, Florida. And I understand in Sarasota, Florida, there was a recent mass shooting. Hope everyone's okay. Now, the article has now been completely disappeared off Israel 21C. There's a good reason they disappeared this article. They've completely changed their website again. The power of intelligence, 5G assurance reinvented with agentic AI, that's the core. Once you understand, they do all the back ends for like Internet of Things, like control of integrated controller chips, industrial controller chips, those programmable logic chips, all the back ends of all your power. They run all the power grids in America, the water, the oil, the gas, the pipelines, you name it, they run it. This one, when you look at their partners, it's Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, Microsoft, TM Forum, it's KPN in the Netherlands, it's Ericsson, it's the biggest of the big. One Israeli company, just one. Did Whitney tell you, hey, guess what? They're in everything. This is part of the control mechanism. We've heard about the sexual blackmail. How did the state of Israel manage to completely penetrate in after decades of warning about their industrial espionage, their traitorous behavior? CIA, DIA, NSA people come out and say Israel is an absolute disgusting piece of garbage which is ruining us over and over. Then you find out they're literally running everything. All the servers for the NSA, DIA, Variant, Amdocs, Converse, Infosys, telecommunications. Carl Cameron in 2001, and there's good old Tucker Carlson coming out with his garbage 4-part series on 9/11. Didn't even mention all the stuff that Carl Cameron from Fox News in November 2001. Is that all you need to know what Tucker Carlson is? Boo the Jews. Now I've got your attention. Let's talk about the pyramids. Let's talk about the coming collapse in the Civil War. Let's talk about the tunnels and the aliens. What more do you need? Candace Owens, Bridget Macron's got a PP. Now she's talking about Candace, that they were breaking up, the wedding was over, and that Erica Kirk is involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Tell me who did 9/11 and tell me about this incredible stuff. It's absolutely incredible. There's more to come. Unfortunately, if you're not aware of tech, you don't have a clue what they're talking about here. Your network's edge, our experience and vision. You had to come down here, right? Smart city communications, TDM migration. So this is critical network infrastructure solutions, Internet of Things, remote monitoring for asset management and smart city communications, carrier edge networking, that's for things like telecommunications, 5G network, all right? It's all the remote control, the literal remote control of data centers, power grids, oil and gas pipelines, oil and gas monitoring equipment. All of it's this company, RAD Group, Convergence, Remote Data Center, Smart Industrial. Look at this one. Smart Industrial Internet of Things by RAD. And then you'll begin to understand.
As critical infrastructure becomes smarter, so does the need to find smarter ways to monitor, manage, and protect the systems we depend on most. Enter RAD's Smart Industrial IoT solution, a breakthrough approach designed for diverse sectors: power transmission lines, data centers, mobile cell sites, smart cities, and connected industries like Industry 4.0.
Do you know what that means? That's all the new internet remote monitoring solutions to do with AI and smart cities. All Israeli. And we said over and over, we guarantee you that Whitney Webb will not say this name. Because Whitney Webb's job as a limited hanger is to keep it very tight, the Overton window to keep it very tight here. Israel does a bit of this, Israel does a bit of that, maybe there's a risk. What's Israel doing running this company? Isn't this terrible? Oh, they go after the Palestinians, Alex Karp, Palantir, but never just tell you, oh, by the way, they're in everything. So I'll tell you about Karp and Palantir and they're monitoring us and oh my God, what's happening? But I'm not going to tell you that they're running every single aspect of our new industrial age. You think she accidentally missed that? We know she didn't because we had people nagging her for years on this. I mean, I know what Whitney Webb is. People think it's a joke. I play jokes about it because I can't believe how absolutely stupid people are with her.
Fully integrated, RAD solution combines advanced sensors, industrial IoT gateways.
See, industrial IoT gateways. Have a look. Look. Can you see? It's everything. Do you own a milk production factory? I guarantee you got RADCOM software and hardware and industrial controller chips in there. You're handing it. Remember, Israel's the enemy. Israel, this horrible, horrible, horrible country. Everyone hates Israel. Boo Israel. Israel. And yet, at the same time, they're just moving right in, and they have done in the last 30 years in particular. That's what 9/11 was about when the FBI complained. When 9/11 happened on September the 11th, 2001, they said every video, every lecture you can watch, and I've watched them all, 100 of them, they say they took us off counterintelligence and monitoring China and Israel, and they put us on counterterrorism, and that's where we lost the game. We were so busy with counterterrorism, which is run by the Israeli state and city of London and their network, that China and Israel just moved into the country. And now we see, to fix this, we now have to partner with the people that raped us, perhaps literally raped our children, completely compromised our intelligence community, and now we have to do a deal with them. And by the way, our president's going to walk away with $8 billion US. I mean, the orange clown must go, Hubbard must go, Jared Kushner must go, they all must go violently, peacefully, and take his money off him, all of them. So you look at that, that's your business, that's your little small company with 50 employees. You've got RAD in there. And soon RAD will not be treated in any way, shape or form as a foreign entity which needs to be cleared, which has clearly managed to find its way in, which is what all the blackmail is about, the sexual blackmail. See, we're missing the big picture of the Epstein through all the salacious gossip and cannibals, and he's got sulfuric acid. Oh my God, what's going on? All valid stuff to talk about, for sure. But then we move on to the big picture. Also, this is how Israel completely took over all our infrastructure. This is the power Israel holds over the country. This is why Israel can negotiate instead of being ripped apart. This is why Israel can negotiate instead of being decimated, the Marines moving in and summarily executing all of these filthy little demons. This is why, and this is the big picture we're missing through all the cannibal talk and all the rest of the stuff going on. We're not talking about this, because this is boring. Boring, Brandon. We've got titties, we've got ass, we've got rape, we've got children, we've got eating children. We can't talk about this no coffee mug sales. Boring. Well, I guess the adults will have to get to work.
And a high-performance IoT platform. Industry protocols are supported to ensure seamless connectivity. The intelligent edge is powered by Docker-based containers running real-time analytics where your assets operate.
Boring. Oh my God.
What does this mean for your operations? Instant issue detection and notification. Predictive maintenance powered by AI-based
Right, have to stop it there. This is what they're talking about. That they're going to put, they're going to put, no, they're not going to. They put it in 20 years ago. So these programmable logic chips, industrial controller chips, do you remember God Mode Unlocked, Chris Domas of DARPA, where he said, with one 64-bit string of code, any product holding a VIA controller chip, industrial controller chip, which at that stage was based on the x86, so the same design, the same infrastructure as AMD and Intel chips. And it was a VIA industrial controller chip, but based on the x86 infrastructure. He didn't want to use an Intel or AMD chip because then he would give the game away.
So instead, let's take this as a case study. The reality is that backdoors do exist. This is not just conspiracy theory stuff, but they don't have to remain invisible. We do have the techniques necessary in order to find these. So sort of looking forward, even though this is not a common processor, I do think this is a big deal. This is not just a big deal for C3. This is not just a big deal for x86. I think this is a big problem for all of computer engineering in general, because this hardware that we're using to protect all of our secrets, to do all of our computation, we have no way to introspect it. So whether or not backdoors are real in a general sense is sort of irrelevant. That question is going to haunt us as long as we can't introspect our own hardware. So I hope that's what people will take out of this. I hope when you see something that seems off limits, when you see these weird hints in patents, because the patents that I saw were just the tip of the iceberg in some of this weird stuff that's out there, I hope people will dive in deep and really see what's under the hood, because that's how security works. That's how we build trust in these systems. So.
Oh my God, they've backdoored all the chips with a hardware backdoor, the deeply embedded core, the DEC, DEC, deeply embedded core. Chris Domas, God Mode Unlocked. How long have we been talking about? 10 years? That's what destroyed Intel Corporation. It wasn't just about their EUV lithography and how they weren't doing it right. No. Look at all these executives, Israeli executives in Intel, which Whitney wouldn't tell you about. Or the Microsoft, she wouldn't say a word, core coding of Microsoft in Israel. That's the ultimate limited hangout. She needs to pay for her betrayal, for her traitorous behavior. She can't just walk away. No. So here, predictive maintenance powered by AI-based insights, that's exactly what Pax Silica is. And Israel will be running the whole thing, not just in America. They want it, well, Europe's saying no, but the Netherlands is on, the UK is on, Australia is on, Japan is on. And you're going to allow Israeli companies to layer over the top of your controller chips, if they're not already using theirs, full-time, real-time AI management and supervision as the only way to counter the cyber, which is Israel in the first place. And they're going to get away with this only if you sit there and sell coffee mugs with your friends. This is going to be a great experiment to see how long it takes for this information to get out there, if it gets out there at all.
Sites, operational efficiency and reduced downtime, comprehensive asset, space and incident management, all in one intuitive platform. Security is never an afterthought. RAD's industry-leading cyber safeguards ensure encrypted data transmission and storage, meeting today's toughest compliance standards. Facing complex requirements, RAD's expert team delivers professional services, guiding you from planning to deployment, so you can focus on results, not technical hurdles. Stay ahead. Stay secure. Set new standards for operational excellence with RAD's Smart Industrial IoT.
You've got to get that into your head. The titties, the child rape, put it aside for a little bit. Not completely, because how we got to this point is via that method. As we were told many, many years ago by Kay Griggs. Smart Industrial Internet of Things. That's the smart city. I'm kind of burnt out because I feel like I'm just saying the same stuff over and over. I don't have that enthusiasm because it's like I've said it 1,000 times. We have to understand what Whitney Webb's not telling you, what Tucker Carlson's never going to tell you, Candace Owens is never going to tell you. These people are the enemy. Candace mentioned for 3 seconds Kay Griggs. Well, that's a start, so why not an hour-and-a-half special? Why mention Professor Tony Martin and Jews run the slave trade, but then not go on to explain who Tony Martin is, have Tony Martin on, or provide links and information on Tony Martin to your audience? You just toss it out there. Hold up a book on Talmud and say you better watch out. You must be able to understand the Overton window, where they set up a little thing. It's in psych warfare books. We set up an Overton window, which was we'll set you up a pen where you can play. And we set it up, and there are the parameters, there are the boundaries, and then we let you fight. And you go, whoa, look at this dynamic fighting. There must be a battle going on. Which side shall we pick? Yeah, something's happening. We're safe. We're going to be saved. Look, there's hope. But really, and then the same group over here, while you're focusing down there, are they moving to basically legislatively secure because they're already in? That's what people don't get. That's why I've screamed. Diane, the cat diva from Tennessee, she said, Brendan, they're in everything in 2018. That's what I've been screaming personally to you all this time. With COVID, I said, yeah, COVID, but watch out because they're all on COVID and it's in everyone's face. We're still not talking about the fact they're in everything. And we never have we? And I'm a voice crying in the wilderness with 2,000 views per video. Getting approached by General Milley's JAG, Colonel Andrew Kernan, now the head of the comptroller as the legal advisor to the comptroller of the $1 trillion budget in the Pentagon. His sister's in my bed. Invited out with all the Jesuits of Australia. Former Prime Minister Tony Abbott hanging out with the Windsors, the royal family. I was invited out with those people. Gee, I wonder if I focus on the things that matter, which is why you never see me, I'm never cross-promoted, why Mary Silva and Lee Levino, all their brilliant work, ambushing. I'll tell you what got Charlie Kirk killed. I'll tell you what got Charlie Kirk killed. Lee Levino got Charlie Kirk killed.
And all of our tech companies are being infiltrated by Israeli military intelligence. So check this out.
Our lad, Mary Silva, got Charlie Kirk killed. Think about it. That's what killed Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was waking up. Still an asshole. Still cheering on the slaughter of Muslims. Still saying, well, I can no longer support Israel because they took away $2 million. Not, oh my God, what would Jesus do or say at the slaughter of my Arab brothers and sisters, my fellow human beings? Oh no, well, Jesus on their lips, one and all, behaving like animals with that horrible, disgusting monster demon, Erica Kirk. Ugh. Plastic Barbie doll. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm finding the research on this quite difficult. I'm finding Google Gemini is just disgusting. It's hiding stuff from me. I have to constantly fight with it. I'm going to move and give Perplexity a go because I found Google, surprise, surprise, Department of Defense, since I cottoned on to really hammering out the Heritage Foundation relationship with that more MAGA nationalist element of the Trump campaign, fighting with the Jared Kushners and the kabbads. Let's still have some hope through all this. We now see Jared Kushner coming under scrutiny. I mean, I'm being gassed. We've got the little gay rent boy. Is it a requirement in technology that you have to be a homosexual, married to some rich billionaire techno guy, and you got no qualifications for your job and you wear Chabad Lubavitch and you're running whole departments? Is that the requirement? Maybe you should give a job to Nick Fuentes. So while we focused on Alex Karp, who's this frizzy-haired half-wit, he's asking to be an evil character. Look at him. He almost plays the evil character. Palantir, Peter Thiel. They're like buzzwords. They're like pin-up boys. But then we want to talk about stuff like this. We want to talk about stuff like this. Nah, boring. We got our buzzwords. It's psychological warfare. So we understand Epstein in that role of one. I mean, we just keep focused on Epstein. There's dozens of them, not just in America, worldwide, from Australia to New Zealand to Europe to the UK to Russia to Southeast Asia to Asia in general and China. And there's Chabad, there's the old networks, there's the Jews of Asia. All the Rockefellers of Asia, the Rothschilds of Asia. I mean, think about it. This network is everywhere, and they're claiming, look, we need this network, Bannon saying, to set up this new system away from China. How do you deal with China while the very people that set up China use Chinese manufacturing? You're in bed with them. We've got to get every single Jew, unless that Jew has been security cleared and said to be not an Israeli firster. There should be no Jews in that administration anywhere near the place unless they are proven to be nationalistic America first. There can be none of these people running backwards and forwards to Israel. It's not about Jewish feelings now. I gave you the example of Intel Corporation and one of my heroes, Andy Grove. Andy Grove was a Hungarian Jew as a child when they rolled the tanks in. He was a teenager. He spoke no English. They ran for their lives out of Hungary and got to the United States. This is a real Jew-made good story. No English, had to learn English when he was 14 years old. He learned English, became an electrical engineering degree and got into Intel. And he was the one that forged Intel from the geniuses they were, but they didn't know how to run a big company. And he took the Phil Noyce, Robert Noyce and the Gordon Moores, and he was like the Jobs, Steve Jobs, and he made that company work. And he was a proud American Jew. And you've never heard of him. If you're not into this industry stuff, you've never heard of Andy Grove. Real name, Andrew Vlogodovich or something from Hungary. Count something or other. But you never hear this guy because he's a real Jew-made good story. And he said over and over, stop outsourcing our high technology. This is national security. That's why you've never heard of Andy Grove. Because that's a real Jew-made good, proud American Jew story. Not everyone in Israel is against us. Clearly, because one American, one Australian Israeli Jew, clearly Telpiot and or Unit 8200, who knew Leon, Warned me about Leon, warned me about the whole thing. Back in 2005. The Israeli press has been screaming. I mean, the Israeli press has told us and warned us since 2008. And at the same time, James Bamford, the official historian for US intelligence and the NSA, is writing stuff warning about this. Multiple books, well before Whitney Webb. Good old Vicky Ward with Steve Bannon. This is not to excuse Steve Bannon and his annoying freaking behavior, but no one has gone after the City of London like he has. Nobody. Over and over, Kissinger going after him. Forcing out that globalist element. Fighting with the Heritage Foundation, formed in 1973, which was then filled with Jewish Trotskyites, the Irving Kristals of the world, the neocons. They're the ones that have tried to recruit me. And you have that nationalist split in there fighting it out. You've got to get rid of that globalist element. And unfortunately, a lot of Jews are going to have to be tossed out, maybe jump on a plane and run for their lives. How about that? We can be discerning and judge people via the American, via the UK Westminster tradition, via the Magna Carta tradition, moving through that system into the great European civilization that was built, into individual guilt and individual responsibility, that you are not treated as a group. But right now, we need to focus on things that matter and tease out. And in the old days of the internet, the camaraderie, even with amongst Jews, we all hated each other, but everyone fought hard for the same thing. Whenever went, oh, you're stealing my coffee mug sales and my business, because all of these people are Intel affiliated. They're all getting money from Soros. All of them. I guarantee you might look hard enough, you might find Whitney Webb's getting funding from Soros, because I look at A More Perfect Union, that channel, which has some good stuff in there, some valid criticisms. We need to tax rich people, transnational corporations need to be brought to heel. Great. But you're not taking away my rights under communitarian law, you little communitarian horseshit, which is communism by another name. Created by multi-trillionaires for multi-trillionaires to lock us in under the system. And they've got their people everywhere. I watch Whitney Webb, I watch More Perfect Union, and they are identical. There is nothing. Whitney Webb is not leading on anything. Not a damn thing. She was put in there to say Israel. To take the work I and others had taken and fought hard and explained and were targeting military and I'm getting approached by Fred Smith, Fred X, Skull and Bones, brought into the family. Okay? Everyone involved. See, they all fight with me thinking I'm one of them, meaning I must be on a Lockheed Fusion Center. Who's handling me? Why are you attacking Whitney Webb? You know, who's your supervisor, Brendan? Because I'm going to call your supervisor at the Lockheed Fusion Center and find out why you're attacking Whitney Webb. Haven't you been told to go away? You're going to be groomed into meeting oil and gas consular officials at the W Hotel Wet Deck over the road from the British High Commission. Aren't you supposed to be hanging out over there? What are you doing attacking our asset, Whitney? See, it's all stopped now. Nobody contacts me anymore because they've all worked out, holy shit, he's not one of us who's getting out of line and jealous. He's actually an independent operator. Oh my God. Now I understand it all. Why would they go, oh, you're jealous? I'm thinking, what the hell is this? Because they've got all their assets. It's like being in a movie and the director says, no, you're not in this scene now, we want another scene. And the actors are getting upset like I'm one of their actors, not one of their actors. Now I understand. They've all worked it out. That's why I never get contacted anymore. I've been contacted by people who did the secret welding special techniques on F-22, people who serviced all the SS-M1 Blackbirds. Oh, you wouldn't believe. SOCOM JSOC serving, not just retired. Because it's this information. I want to bury the lead. It's this information. The Internet of Things, RAD. That one company. You think it's just RAD? They're one of dozens, but RAD's the biggest. They're in everything. Power, electrical, you name it. All through the US. They're in Japan, telecommunications, government VoIP encryption. How long have I been going on about RAD? And they've disappeared large sections of her. I got to find it. I'll get you that main article, which now no longer exists. Wow, look at this. Wayback Machine now goes to the changed link. Like when you put the link in now, the page no longer shows up and you just get Israel 21C, what you see there. Well, now when you go to the Wayback Machine, which had a copy, Wayback had a copy of the original article, which I still have as a PDF, and I'll show it to you in a minute. Now look at this, they do a redirect I put in, so look, that's the original rad data of the world's telecom industry. I had that set into my browser, bookmarks. It's disappeared. I'm looking for it. Where's it gone? And it would just go straight to Wayback. Now watch this. That should take me to the Wayback Machine's Israel 21C. Here is the article. This innocuous looking article. Zohar Isabel, the rad dad of the world's telecom industry. They have disappeared this completely. I told you, Whitney Webb ain't going to tell you about this one company, but let's look at it. Lauded by entrepreneurs as one of the most successful and prolific high-tech entrepreneurs. Okay. Lauded by entrepreneurs as one of the most successful and prolific high-tech entrepreneurs in Israel or anywhere, especially in the telecom industry. Isabel humbly says, if it weren't them, someone else would have created the technologies developed by RAD and its group of companies. 6 RAD group companies now listed on NASDAQ include RAD Vision, Ceragon Networks, Radware, RIT Technologies, Radcom, and Silicom. They're huge. RAD has changed life as we know it. You've never heard of them. RAD has helped change life as we know it, enabling high-speed and wireless communication and secure telephone networks and banking. Today, RAD is a solutions provider for more than 100 telecom operators around the world, including AT&T, British Telecom, Deutsche Telekom, France Telecom, Japan Telecom, and Orange France. It provides communications tools to major players in the banking, commerce, education, finance, government, military, transportation, and utility sectors, oil, gas, electrical. They disappeared. That article, it is linked below. They have disappeared from the Wayback Machine. They have disappeared the web page. They considered that so important. Did we not scream at you? Whitney Webb won't tell you who Radcom and Rad Group is, and so has Isabel. And now you know why, because that is the key to understanding Pax Silica. They are formalizing. They're not allowing, they are simply formalizing and legislating what they have already done. The greatest espionage penetration in history. Donald Trump is facilitating, Epstein facilitated. They're all in on it. You saw Jeremy and Greg ambushing all the Democrat hopefuls in June 2019. They all know, and they are all compromised by the so-called Epstein rings, which is really dozens of them. Thank you, Kay Griggs, and they're worldwide. The ramifications are enormous, and we've got these little gays running around, little homosexual rent boys are now running whole departments, getting their photographs with that orange clown must go. Throw him out of an airplane, get rid of that orange effing clown, his closet homosexual son-in-law, Chabad, Howard Lutnick, Stephen Miller, all of them, or the Heritage Foundation and Steve Bannon. You are all guilty of massive treason, and you are not going to hold it back because Pluto is in Aquarius. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to get back to studying because this is really hard to dig out this stuff so I can give you the exact quotes, because apparently nobody else is going to tell you, and we need to get together a fact sheet because the Mary Silvas and the Lee Levinos of the world, who you've never heard of, are lobbying politically to try and stop this. And Whitney Webb ain't going to lift a finger. None of your favorite news websites, coffee mug sellers, swagger merch sellers are going to ever link to us, ever assist us, ever have a nice thing to say about us, because they are all intelligence, all foundation linked, all under complete control. Until they start to feel the heat and realize that patriots are going to come looking for them. Until all of them start realizing that patriots are going to find where they live and they're going to come and find them. Because the inevitable result of all of this is heading is what? The Smart Cities Communitarian Program. And patriots are going to come looking for them. And until, because they live in little bubbles, little fantasy worlds, where they can just do whatever they like and there's never any ramifications. One day they're going to find out, as Luigi said, and as Steve Bannon said, you're going to get 30,000 Luigis one day roaming around the countryside. If you don't fix it, you can either fix it or you can face the consequences. And your gated communities and your Israeli Defense Force bodyguards aren't going to save you. You're not going to be able to walk anywhere, have anything to say. The problem with these people is they don't live in reality. They've never had someone walk up and break their jaw. They're not scared because they're in a bubble of unreality. And until 30,000 Luigis start roaming the land, until they start feeling the fear of special forces personnel come looking for them, trained professional killers have to start finding all these people and saying, you will tell the truth or else. We don't want to hear your bullshit, Alex Jones. Oh, it'll bring down the economy. No, no, no. Do you seriously believe these parasites that somehow you remove a vile, disgusting child rapist from the world, that suddenly the economy collapses? Or they're threatening to collapse the economy. They've said, we'll cooperate with you, we'll help you rule the world, but you got to let us in. There's no deal with the devil. There's no deal with kabbad. But they're doing it. So the orange clown must go now. Retire him permanently. Just get rid of him. Him, kabbad, all of them. And still the rhetoric starts up. And still that rhetoric starts. That somehow saving the republic hinges on a big, tall, orange clown who's worried about people finding out he's got a little pee-pee with his Eastern Bloc horse that he's always marrying. It's time now. No more negotiations, no more clever political trick, no more. No mas, basta. Either the Heritage Foundation, nationalist arm, take over completely. Susie Wiles must go. Start articulating it. Start agitating. So they start getting nervous. You understand why Bannon was talking to Epstein? You understand how they were organizing to bypass the Belt and Road? How they would then have control of that corridor and all that. Well, why can't they fix things? Why can't they just deal with China? Well, they'll say China's too enmeshed in the supply chain. They're still enmeshed in the supply chain, though. It's more than that. This is about always Israel. Always got to protect Israel. Why? What power do they have? Because they've compromised everyone. So, you know what you do? You just simply get rid of everyone they've compromised, because they want you to know that everyone that you might want to get rid of is just so valuable to the system. No, they're not valuable. You got to get rid of Hayden, Clapper, Brennan, and bring them back and charge them with treason, because on their watch alone, you saw all this unfold. You saw Bill Binney, A Good American, the documentary. All these people just came out, were handing all these contracts to Israel, privatizing into their friends. Their little friends were making private contractors, and they were handing billions of dollars of taxpayer money to their friends, and they were employing all the Israelis were coming in. Bill Binney. When's Bill Binney going to be on Candace Owens? You don't have to look too far to work out what these people are doing. These people need to know you are traitors, and traitors are executed. F. Scott Fitzgerald, quote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see that things are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. This philosophy fitted on to my early adult life when I saw the improbable, the implausible, often the impossible, come true."
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American, because that's what it's all about, and it's the only thing that it's all about, nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom.